Hello, welcome to What's in Your Grotto. This is our countertop edition. We are going to be talking today about the best way to store specialty cheeses in your cheese grotto on the counter specifically. The grotto is something that is used both on the countertop as well as in the refrigerator. So it's something that you can decide where you want to have it. But during the colder months of the year, when the weather cools down and it's not, I mean, I live in New York City and, it can get to it's like 80, 90 degrees outside and we don't have central air. That's not always the best time to have the grotto out because the ripening process is directly related to the external temperature when it comes to cheese. But during those colder months of the year, it's a really nice thing to do, especially during the holidays when you're going to just be like serving cheese, entertaining, and you don't want to just kind of keep taking your cheese in and out of the fridge like every other day, which can also essentially kind of change the cheese in ways that maybe it won't be as good as if you just let it out and let it open up and serve it. So yeah, I am going to just spotlight Kerry and I. Kerry's with me today. Um, she does a lot of she does a lot of like educational stuff for us as well as customer service. And she is also essentially the one of the not oldest customers, but the
Oh, some
longest
days, Jessica.
the longest standing customers that we have had. So because she ordered one of the original cheese grottos 9 years ago. So it's really special to have her on our team and being able to speak about the grotto as well and her experiences over 9 years. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen and great. Let's see here. All right, so everyone can see that. Amazing, amazing. So, Carrie, take it away. Introduce.
Yeah, sorry. Just this last year, we've had a neighborhood cat that's brought us kittens, so we've been working with them. And don't worry, Dorado got cleaned out afterward, thoroughly cleaned out. But when they're kittens, it's kind of funny, and I keep trying to tell them, you know what curiosity does, little girl and little boy. But it just was too cute to let it go.
And they might be running past your screen every once in a while
Yes, I
too.
have Gonzo behind me right now.
Nice. Um, okay, cool. So yeah, one of the main things that we usually like to start off with is kind of just like the fundamental questions about what naturally made cheese is, and basically what makes cheeses something that are essentially kind of alive and fermenting and continue to evolve even when they get back into your home. A lot of times, we think of these things as just kind of you buy them at the store, you bring them home, and then they will just continue to stay exactly identically to when you purchase them. But it is a live fermenting item, and I find that the more people understand like the process and how cheeses are made, um, it really just helps inform when you go to the store, when you're purchasing them, when you're storing them at home as well. So yeah, so really, a lot of cheesemakers, we source from small and medium scale cheesemakers. So a lot of them either have their own herd, and they might be doing rotational grazing practices that will essentially affect the final quality of the milk that's being used. We really do focus on those small and medium scale producers. And whatever the feed is of the dairy animal is really going to like inform the final composition of the cheeses that you enjoy, as well as the breed of the dairy animal will also inform that. You know, if there's it will have a variation in what the butter, fat, and protein content is like of the cheeses. But once the milk is added to the cheese making vat, the milk is inoculated with edible cultures and molds. And essentially, that is allowed to ferment and acidify the milk, so it gets to a proper pH level, to be able to add rennet, which is the enzyme which will essentially create the structural integrity of the final cheese that you're enjoying at your home. So you'll see here the curd has been set with edible cultures and molds, which you aren't able to see anything, just kind of looks like white. But those cultures and potentially the molds of the exterior of the rind, that development, depending on the cheese. A lot of cheeses have mold, edible mold on the exterior, like Bries. This could be where that would happen as well. But once that has been added, the rennet has been added, and you'll see here in the photo that they're actually cutting that curd. So the curd is set. It takes all the rennet sets the curd. It takes all of the floating casein protein in the milk and binds it together while trapping all of the butter fat. So you get this like silky tofu-like block of curd that's floating in the water content of the milk, which is essentially the whey and the whey proteins and whey minerals. So if it's a softer cheese, sometimes it's not even really cut. The reason you cut the curd more, like with something like these tools here, is to expel even more moisture and more water out of the curd itself, so that the result becomes like a denser curd structure and like more denser curds in general. Um, so this is one step. You might also, to get a cheese even firmer than this before you strain it off into the forms, you could be heating the curd um, after it's cut, so it expels even more moisture. And that's what happens with like the very, very dense styles of cheese that you have. They go through that process before being drained and pressed and salted, so that you get this really, really firm structure and texture. But yeah, basically, after the curd is formed and it's stored, it is basically needs to, with any aged cheese, so not a mozzarella, not like a goat cheese, like a fresh goat cheese, like those would be something you would enjoy right away, a ricotta. But for an aged cheese, after the curd has been formed or drained into forms, it needs to be stored in a cool and humid environment to allow for the proper cheese aging to happen. And really, the origin of cheese storage in general comes back to the cave, because cheese has been around since like 8,000 BC, and we definitely did not have refrigerators at that point. And so, because of that, a lot of times we would make do with what we had. We had literally a cave maybe in the side of a mountain, and that's where you would store food, or like underground, like a cellar underground, where you would store food to prolong the shelf life of it. So these kind of natural processes and natural like different identities of cheese came out of like the need to preserve the milk and the need to preserve the curd for longer. And that's where these like all these incredible variety of different styles came from. So a cheese cave, which is still used now, obviously for aging and ripening all the cheeses, is warmer than a refrigerator. It's usually in the 50 to 60 degree range. So it allows for this like slow, even ripening of the exterior of the cheese, which then informs the final flavor characteristic inside, like in the paste of the cheese. And we can reference this in the future. This is a great little descriptor of some of the microbiology of natural cheese rinds that Kerry uh, found and put as part of the slideshow. But it's, yeah, something that we can definitely, refer back to as well, because it's a very complex terrain. Like what's going on, and all these molds are edible and they're informing the interior flavor profile of the cheese. But it's something that's studied very closely still because it's a very complex, like microbial environment that happens on the exterior of a lot of the cheeses. So that's kind of brings us to the other point, which we've talked about this in our previous session as well, that cheesemongers, they really not only are they cutting and selling the cheese, they go through a process of care. So a lot of times, like through the process of storing cheese, like there needs to be a regular maintenance because they're active and live and fermenting. So what will happen is there's a process called facing where cheeses will be scraped on the exterior to remove any external mold development that might develop on the paste. And that's something that just like cheesemongers get used to seeing. Like it just happens. It's and so like that this facing, it's just like a scraping off of the face of the cheese. A lot of times, cheese shops with those pristine walls of cheeses, almost every day, sometimes they will be unwrapping all of the cheeses, scraping them, rewrapping them, going through this process because they're active and live and fermenting. So I think it's something that people don't realize. And then you bring home a cheese and you might get some activity at some point on your cheese and not know that, like, that's also part of the maintenance of what's happening at the cheese shop, too. So it's not irregular in in like most circumstances. And before there was the cheese grotto, obviously there's a whole history here of like people storing cheese on the counter. This it was inspired by uh, a few other items that are out there. So like originally, people would use something like a cheese safe. They still do in Europe. You can get like a little wooden cheese box in Italy where it's just like a pine box and they drill some holes in the side because there's a whole tradition of storing cheese in a wooden box for preservation. So definitely the grotto is an enhanced version of what already has existed for hundreds of years as a method for storing. Mostly the main difference with the grotto is you have the humidity element component added to it and coupled with the breathability. The cheese safe is very breathable. It's like very mesh. So there's a lot of air getting in there. And what that does is it actually cures the cheese. So it will lose moisture in an environment like a cheese safe over time. Um, but it lasts longer when it loses moisture, right? So a lot of times, like you'll see like those traditional cheeses like the crottin. I don't know if you've ever had a crottin before, where it's like just those little goat cheeses. Um, they're actually designed to like continue to get denser and denser and denser because they uh they are usually have been historically stored in things like this cheese safe so that like they almost become dense like a grating cheese over time, and so they can be enjoyed at all these different phases, but it's like basically inspired again by there was no refrigerator and like we'll just if we can cure the cheese out kind of similar to curing of a sausage, then you can like hold on to it for longer. um with the cheese dome, that's another way to leave the cheeses out on a wooden board, glass over the top. Cheese doesn't necessarily love a lot of light. In general, it's something that is recommended to not have like it just like sitting in direct light in general. Because it will, I mean, the combination of the heat and like the direct light is not great for it. But it is a nice tool to be able to just see what you have and have it ready to serve on the counter. The other thing with the cheese dome is it doesn't really have like breathability to it. It's kind of just like its own little microclimate with not much air coming in. So that's where like the cheese grotto has, breathability from the back panel. And it's not a complete seal in the front, and then it's breathable materials as well. So yeah, a lot of it came from this inspiration and the caves and all of that. This just gets a little bit more into the idea that the grotto is helping to maintain these healthy microbes that otherwise would be killed by plastic wrap because there's no air supply whatsoever. And then you get more of this humidity and airflow balance. And then you can, yeah, decide. if you want to have it out on the counter or in the fridge, depending on the climate. I mean, we usually just recommend, our main rule of thumb is under 70 degrees because it'll ripen faster the warmer it is, and just to try to enjoy the cheeses that you have in there within the week because they will evolve a little bit more quickly at a warmer temperature. But I'll hand it over to Carrie. This is from her storing in her cheese grotto, uh, us a few different styles and how they did over a few days.
Yeah, I had well, Jessica and I live in very different home environments. I live in a bermed house, so basically our lower level is a walkout basement. And when we first moved in, it didn't have a second floor. We added a second floor, but it's still very cool down here on the first floor, and it remains cool through the seasons because the coolness comes from the cement underneath. So it's usually about 68 in here year round. Husband doesn't like it. I like it cool. So that's a big difference when, in the summertime, Jessica has 85 degrees in her home and I have 68. I do keep my grotto out on the counter longer through the year then at that rate. But I did a few different cheeses in here and follow them along to see what they did over the course of a few days. This was our Petite Boo from the October box. And I don't know if anyone got that, but this is just such an interesting cheese. Every time I take a nibble, um, I feel like I'm eating frosting or something because the consistency is such an unusual consistency. And the rind, I noticed after a few days, did not grow a whole lot. That might be the ash that's underneath the mold growth, kind of controlling that. That's possible because usually a blooming rinded cheese is going to grow a little more forest on it. You can see on day one, it's got a little pooch out on its left side. It was starting to get softer. Day two, it was starting to get runnier. And then day three, it's definitely squishier. This is Night Walker from Deer Creek. And this one has been interesting through the last few days. It's kind of hard to see because it is getting dark outside, the detail. But the rind itself, it's the cut side. It really is almost a rindless cheese. The cut side is a little bit harder than when it first went in there. But also the color between the curds that were formed in the wheel is changing. And I don't think that this was bathed in bourbon, but I thought it was bathed just on the exterior of the wheel, not the curds before they went into the form, because that would explain a slight difference in color. Not that there's a problem. I use my nose. And when I cracked a piece open, there was still quite a bit of moisture. You'll see sometimes you'll see a little bit of, you'll see like little pockets of water come out of there. And that just tells you, you can tell by your senses, by the smell and by the texture that it is still very good and still very fresh. You can just see how it changes. So the next one was the blue cheese. So there's a better picture. I tried to get a little picture of that on the right-hand side of some of the little bit of glossy colors in there. There are some droplets of moisture that are still within the cheese. It's in perfect condition. And then this is the blue. This is a sheep's milk blue. We do have a few cheesemakers in Minnesota. And this is a Big Woods Blue from Shepherd's Way in southern Minnesota. I'm originally from Wisconsin, so you might catch a little of that too coming out. But you can see sheep's milk cheeses will kind of puddle out a little bit. They're just higher in butterfat, and this one has really changed in its aroma mostly. In its aroma, it's gotten a little bit more tangy, a little more sour milk. A little bit stronger blue when I bought this one. I can see by the photo it is a little bit of a younger blue. And it didn't have a lot of blueness, for lack of a better word. But as it sat in here for a few days, and this one I probably would keep in here. The rind is doing nothing. I see absolutely nothing, no growth going on here. On the bottom, it does look a little bit, the cut surface looks a little different than the cut surface on the top. It's starting to get a little bit lighter color. That could be some oxidation a little bit. I probably would face that before eating it to get the best bite. And on to the next. So I'll try to get some close-ups here. Again, in the middle photo there, you can see little pockets of moisture. Also, I believe sheep's milk cheeses, if you've had sheep's milk cheeses, there's a strange little toothiness to it. There's a almost, it's not quite a grit. It's not quite that strong, but there's a kind of a chewy toothiness to it. And I noticed that in the blue as well as other sheep's milk, hard sheep's milk cheeses. My husband is not a big fan of it because he also doesn't like pears because of that texture. So it's a kind of a similar texture in sheep's milk cheeses. And I can see a couple of those little crystals kind of showing their face too. And the last one, you can see that there's just like right now, it pulled out, not enough, more moisture came out enough to leave some cheese on the board. I still go ahead and put my piece right in that marking there and leave it as is. If I saw some issues there, I might wash the board and replace it. But it's looking fine. I don't see any extra weird mold growth or anything, just moisture.
Yeah. Do you ever like sometimes I'll flip them if there's like more trapped moisture on one side.
Yeah, definitely. You can flip them. It's presented right now as a lovely little wedge. Certainly you can, keep moving it around like that or the other side. I see we haven't been doing our job. It hasn't really disappeared a whole lot.
Well, once this is over, you can go to town.
But I think that's brilliant, Mary. You have two mezzos for one for your blue cheeses. That's a great storage
I
process.
I'm still such a newbie at this. Ah, but I don't know. Somebody made a comment about something to me, and I thought, oh, maybe I should keep my blues separately. You know,
It's it's
uh,
true.
uh, so I mean, it's all a new world. I mean, we're getting beyond just eating them.
Yeah, and actually I didn't plan on this, but this is a whole big reason for Cheese Grotto. I picked this up at our local grocery store. It still has a week on its expiration date, but they reduced it.
What is it?
It's a piece of it's from Cello, it's a Romano. So it's
Oh,
hard Italian cheese. It's in
right.
the packaging is not blown, it's not puffy, which
Uh-huh.
usually means it's gassing out, it's starting to grow something. It's in great shape, but they're
Wow.
getting rid of it.
Wow.
That's sad. But
Hmm.
back to the blue and brie cheeses, those really like to share their spores. They go bouncing elsewhere onto other cheeses. So it's separate is usually the best for a longer term storage for sure. I could see that this Marin French was not moving a whole lot, so
Mhm.
I'm happy with leaving it in there with the other cheeses.
Yeah.
Well, originally I thought one was enough for me because it's just me, unless I had friends to dinner. It's just me. But I am obsessed with eating it. And
Mary, you can have me over for virtual dinner, okay?
and I mean, I'm currently, at my age, you don't have much time to do everything. So my big passion is Italian wines, and that's what I focus on. So now I'm focusing on cheese. I want to do the best by my enjoyment of that cheese. And I absolutely have to say, after, 70, 80 years plus of eating cheese, I'm having the best cheese experience. We
That's so
still have
good to
to,
hear.
we still have to figure out the summer, but that's doable,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's yeah, I also feel like with the models that are the one shelf, it can be nice to have to like for what I usually recommend for blues, it like when people have like the one shelf is like maybe they would tent a little bit over the blue itself, like a cheese paper, like something that like gives it a little bit more barrier.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not, I, in my grotto right now, I have a blue with others. I do that all the time. Like I'm not as I don't know. I like to say I'm a hard user of my grotto. Like I know it's like, sometimes, Carrie and I are setting up for something and I'm like, don't look at my grotto right now. I need to like clean it. Like but I am a hard user of it. But yeah, I do find that sometimes with the one shelf version, it can be nice to, like for the more pungent styles or the blues, like
Yeah,
have a little
yeah,
bit of a barrier.
yeah. Well, originally when I looked at them, I thought I should get the bigger one. I've forgotten the name of it. The two shelf.
Yeah, so we have the fresco and the
But but
classico.
but yeah, but then I thought, oh, there's only me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I thought, oh, but a second one. I mean, it's perfect.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh yeah.
Did you say it's only me?
Yeah.
No, it's all of you. Hello, you deserve
Oh,
it.
oh,
I mean, if I could have two grottos right now, I would. Just so you know, in my grotto, I have so much to learn. It's ridiculous. Oh my God, I've been leaving these little like the outside plastic containers to write in my book and like they're molding on the table, but the cheese is intact in my grotto. So I have a Merlot Bellavitano cheese, which apparently had a first place in the American Cheese Society. And what's interesting is when I put it in the grotto, it had such a like a blueberry taste. But then as it aged and it got to the point where I wasn't supposed to leave it on the counter anymore, the blueberry scent completely went away. The other one that I have with it is and by the way, that Merlot Billavantano is from Wisconsin. Um, the other one I have is a Roth, and okay, this is from Publix. Okay, I'm not gourmet yet. Um, the other one is Roth cheese. It's a hot honey Gouda, and it's also from Wisconsin. I just saw that. Wow. Okay. And what I noticed about this one is that it doesn't taste as good just plain. So the other day I made a honey Dijon spread and I'm gluten free the last few months, so I had gluten free sourdough bread. I put the honey Merlot, I put the hot honey Gouda cheese on it. I put a little bit of ham, a little bit of leftover Jersey Mike's chicken steak. No, 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 that was another sandwich. I put uh, ham, sliced apples, the honey Dijon, and the hot honey Gouda cheese. I toasted the sourdough bread and then I melted it in the microwave. It was amazing. So this hot honey Gouda cheese is better for sandwiches than just eating like the Bella Vitano. I'm not Italian by the least. John, I assume you're Italian because you have a vowel at the end of your a vowel at the end of your name, but that I'm
There's a lot of
generalizing. So
there's a lot of skinny letters in my name, so there's a lot of
see
people
that.
who mispronounce or
I
mistype
used
it.
to live
So,
in Washington, D.C. for 10 years too.
oh,
So yeah, those are the two cheeses that are in my grotto. I still have a lot to learn, but I wanted to share that with you because it's so interesting. I had to take two of the pieces out because they were just overaged. And I put two new pieces in for tonight so that we could talk about it. I could share with you.
I have a couple of questions for Jessica, or I'm sorry, is it Carrie? Um, Either should be able to answer these. First of all, I'm very curious as to the name cheesemonger. Is there anyone who knows the history of that, or is it something French that we've sort of bastardized into an English word? That was my first one. And then the second, I do have the classic, so it's got the two shells. And I'm thinking, okay, Thanksgiving coming up. You're saying that there's no issue in sort of a relatively mild mid-Atlantic climate to have from Wednesday to Friday this beautiful piece out as a centerpiece, just out the whole time, not worrying about the cheese doing whatever I think might happen to cheese over 72 hours of being out and being sort of the cornucopia star of the show, if you will, right? Like, so tell me a little bit about that. And I see that yours are out, and probably Jessica, yours stays out most of the time. You're in New York City. That might be your refrigerator also, you know?
Yeah, Carrie, do you want to talk about the word cheesemonger?
Sure. I'm not sure the source of cheesemonger. I've always kind of said, I mean, you have a fishmonger, you have a meatmonger. It's the person that sells you, has a specialization in the product that they are selling you.
Hmm.
In the cheese industry, they also call it slinging cheese. So it's usually the person behind the counter, cutting and wrapping, facing, maintaining, taking care of all the cheeses that are for sale. And definitely need to, when you meet a cheesemonger, befriend them. They will be your lifelong friend, and they will bring you some really good cheeses to try.
No, it's just interesting. We don't like call our nannies the nanny monger, or that, like, like it's a phrase that's used in a variety of professions that I have no idea what its origin is.
No, I don't know the origin. I'll have to look that up now. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
It's
if
like,
you run into a nanny monger, you might want to be nice to she or he.
yeah. It's also definitely like the way every place that I've heard it used is like related to food and like the handling and care of food. So yeah, like I mean, fishmonger is definitely like the other one that's the most like popular. But I mean, since I mean, in France, you would say, it's like you might have like the fromager, like like there's like a specialization.
Right.
Like it's I don't know. It's crazy when you think about like how society was structured a little bit more like that, where that was like you had your go-to person for the cheese, go-to
Yeah,
person for the meat,
I'm just,
like it was definitely much more specialized in like career specialization, even like within like food and merchants and yeah, I don't know. We've like lost that,
It could have been, it feels like a phrase from the turn of the last century, right? Like it almost feels like someone who shoes horses would be called something. I can't remember what that phrase is, but it feels like monger might be from that era. I'm curious. Anyways, sorry to digress. Maybe the bigger question is Thanksgiving, if you want to help me with that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Kerry just did a nice little shoot with it in the center, but yeah, I mean that's definitely I think that's like one of the most ideal ways to use it. I think like the main thing that I have actually a couple more slides that I can show you guys too about kind of my rules of thumb for like different styles of cheeses and like storing them out because certain ones will ripen a little bit faster than others. And that's just like based off of the moisture content. But like as long as you're in an environment that's like under 70 degrees, like if it's not like the heat is blasting the whole time that it's out, then it will stay in like a nice condition. You can just have them out and like ready to serve. But they will like here, let me see. Let me show you what I
Can I real quick, Jessica? Just
Oh
I have a
yeah.
couple words of advice. If you're gonna I used it as a centerpiece, surrounded with other harvest kinds of things and candles, etc. To select the cheeses that go into it, I would think fall, think harvest time. I would go with some harder cheeses, some aged Goudas, cheddars, things like
mm,
that have some a little bit stronger of a flavor to them. And also I would we have some friends that make wine, and when I bring my cheese grotto over, I don't open it until we have observed and smelled the wine because the aroma of the cheeses, especially at that temperature, are going to mess with your olfactory. I love that part, but you never know. If you put a blue in there and Grandma Alice is sitting there, she hates blue, and you open that thing up, it might be a little bit of a problem. But so I think, especially it's a great do ahead that way, right? Have it as a centerpiece. You can even put some salami in there and it'll be fine. Just don't put crackers in. But it's a great do ahead. You can set it out, slice it even, and it will be fine for a few days sliced. and ready to go. And if it's not, just eat it and put, if it got a little too warm, it might start to sweat. Yeah, I would go with some harder cheeses, some more harvest kinds of cheeses for sure.
Yeah. Also, one other thing I'll say is that so I love like a spruce bark wrapped cheese. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like during the holidays, you get something like and we sell some like Rush Creek Reserve, like a Harbison, these soft ripened cheeses that have like spruce bark wrapped around them, which like imparts this really awesome woodsy flavor. And they are something that they're huge during the fall and the winter because traditionally, like the ones that are made in the Alps, like Vacheron Mont d'Or, is one of those cheeses. They only come out seasonally. And so same with Rush Creek Reserve, and it's just because like the composition of the milk changes from cows grazing on pasture to eating like, hay and like grain during the winter months. And so it's more conducive for these softer cheeses during the fall and winter. And during the summer, a lot of times they'll make like a dense cheese, like a Gruyere style or Comté. Like those are the kind of like styles. Like Upland's cheese that makes Rush Creek Reserve. They make two cheeses. They do it the traditional way. They make two cheeses. They make one during the spring, summer, and fall, which is a hard cheese that's modeled after like Alpine styles, like Beaufort. And then during the winter months, they make the Rush Creek Reserve. And so with those cheeses, sometimes you get them and like they're young, right? Like you might be getting one near the beginning of the season, and it's like it's still quite dense in the texture. Like it's a soft cheese, but it's like it hasn't broken down yet in the texture. And that's a great candidate to have in the grotto for a couple days because you can actually just allow it to naturally ripen at a warmer temperature so that it gets to that point where if you don't, you could bake it, like people bake it all the time, like cut the top off, but like if you can be your own affineur in that case, you can ripen it out a little bit, get it to the nice stage of ripeness whole that you would enjoy and then have it ready to serve like a couple days later. And that's what's fun about it. It's like, uh, actually, Tenaya Darlington always talks about that. It's like when you squeeze it and it's kind of like a jelly-filled donut versus like that's when you like kind of know that it's like, oh, it's gonna be more gooey. It's gonna be that like desired more peak flavor and texture, like in the aging process. So a lot of times with those full wheels, before you like are going to serve them, I find it to be like great. Especially when you get them young and you can feel like when it's younger just from like a little squeeze. So
Okay.
yeah. And the bark with those styles, it holds it together. So if it gets a little like more goopy, the whole point of the bark is to like keep it as a have some structural integrity while also letting the paste and the cheese like continue to like develop in flavor and texture. So um
Thank you.
oh yeah, yeah. That's like one of my favorite things about using it during the holidays. It's like you get these specialty cheeses that you wouldn't try normally and uh it's like you can ripen them. It's cool. So but yeah.
The only thing I would add to that is do not go truffle.
Oh, too
Some
strong.
of those flavored cheeses
Overpowering.
are too strong to put in the grotto with other cheeses. And I did that accidentally once. I had some truffle cheddar in there, and every cheese that was in there tasted like truffle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I
it
have
can
a
be
quick
strong.
question for you before we wrap up. I just when you said wrapped, I have a Castello Edam cheese. Um, I think I want to take that other cheese out, just eat it all, and put this in there. With the rice, it says mild and creamy with a semi-hard texture, nutty flavor, and salty bite. I haven't had any cheeses with a. I had one cheese with a rind. I'm assuming this one has a rind because it's packed like this. Can I put this one in overnight outside in like 40-degree weather, or should I leave it? What should I do to have, is there any way to age this to be good tomorrow?
Oh yeah, it's a like a wax ripened or it's a wax grinded cheese, right? And it's like a full wheel.
Okay. When you
Yeah.
said full wheel, I remember, okay, so I could put the full wheel in there. Now, should I leave it out in the cold overnight or leave it at about 70 degrees inside?
It would be fine either way. I mean, the main thing is because it's whole and it's sealed, it's not going to have any exposure to oxygen. It won't be like with that, it's like even more like, if you have it in the grotto overnight, like out on your counter, it's not going to be a very dramatic shift, because it's
So
like sealed.
I don't break it, I don't cut it in half, I leave it in there.
Oh, well, if you were going to just want to store it and continue to ripen it, I recommend having it whole if it fits in there. It's like seems
Okay,
like a
it
perfect
does.
little size to like play around if
It
it
is a perfect little size for the
yeah.
piatto, which I have.
Yeah.
Look,
So
see
it's like
the reference, see?
oh, it's so cute. Yeah. I know. So like that's the main thing about like when you have a full wheel, that's where you're going to be able to really like um kind of like evolve the whole wheel, right? Like age it out a little bit more. If you have like a cut wedge, a lot of times what we'll even say like in is that like once it's cut, it just changes the cheese automatically because when it's a full wheel, it's not exposed to oxygen in the interior. Once you cut a wedge, it's it's getting exposed to oxygen in a way that it didn't before. The flavor is going to continue to change. Like it might be like what you notice, right? Is like more aromatic. And then like as time went on and there's more exposure to oxygen, sometimes like that wine, right, that was like kind of soaked into that packaging, like into the rind, will start to like, evaporate a little bit, like when it's in open air. So it'll become more about like the changing, like the paste of the cheese, right? And like the changing flavor profile, like as it's aging out, like on your counter. So it's like a little bit,
So
when it's whole, it gives you like a little bit more chance to like keep it there for longer, if that makes sense, because you're not exposing it to oxygen yet.
absolutely. Let me ask you one final question. If I want to serve this tomorrow at my party, should I open it and will it be ready?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so Carrie, did you have any other thoughts about the this?
Well, I think by tomorrow it's not going to move in flavor.
Mm,
The only reason it will move in flavor is that it's at room temperature. So it doesn't really matter if it's cut or whole. It'll just warm up to a good temperature to eat by tomorrow if you leave it at the 70.
I think I'm gonna try that and I'll let you know what my guests think.
Mhm.
Awesome. I love that. It's just like a little mini. Oh, yeah. You had a question? Or,
You're on mute, Zoom user.
oh, yeah. I'm gonna ask you to unmute. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is what I just pulled out of my grotto. It's a Willoughby Fire on the Mountain from Jasper Hill Farm.
Uh-huh.
And it's oozing everywhere. Does that mean it has to be eaten right away? Hmm.
It looks pretty ripe. It looks like it's on the riper side for sure. So yeah, with those styles, actually that kind of taps into this first thing that on this slide too. Um, that would be called a soft ripened cheese. Like it's the same as like the spruce bark wrapped cheeses or like the
Okay.
brie styles. And so in higher humidity environments, and just like even if it honestly with the cheese that's already ripe like that, like if it hasn't been in there for that long, it means
Yeah.
that like the cheese itself is like a little bit more like on the more aged scale of, like when you receive it. So like sometimes it's younger and denser and more springy. And then as it ages, it will like continue to break down all the enzymatic and cultural activity will continue to break it down and make it more spreadable. So soft ripened cheeses, they will continue to get softer over the week. So that's one of the things to just like expect in general. If you want to slow down like that kind of like breakdown and ripening, that would be a situation where you would want to put the grotto in the fridge just because it will continue to to run, to start
Yeah.
to run more.
Oh, it's running all over the place.
Yeah. But I would eat it. It's like I feel like if you can
Good.
enjoy it this weekend, like that's what I would recommend.
Okay. Okay. I wish I could share it with you guys. It's really good.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And that's the thing about these things. It's like their peak flavor sometimes is closer to the end of their shelf life, right? Like
Okay.
especially with these styles. Like
Mhm.
we think about shelf life as like it goes bad. Like, you know, and with cheese because it's fermenting and aging, it's like it has a peak. It's like the in French it's like à point. Like it's like the peak of flavor and the peak of texture. And with cheese experts, it's like they like people that age cheese, they get to kind of understand over their career like where that peak when that peak flavor comes out. And so like, you know, it's a combination, I think, as people as cheese lovers, of like in the enjoyment and like the preference of what stage along the cheese you want to eat your cheese at. And like, yeah, just the nature of the cheese itself as well. Like, um, but yeah, it's like, you know, you like it ripe. You like it ripe. It's delicious. And it's time for it to have its moment.
Okay. This
Yeah.
weekend it will be gone.
Yeah.
Good.
Um,
Hey, Jessica, can I ask a question about the subscription?
oh yeah, totally.
So we've had, I think, four subscriptions. I think there was some talk somewhere in one of the emails months ago. All have been successful, all have come. We had an issue with one that was during the summer month, and it was very, very tricky because I think these things gets packaged and put on ice, and then they can sit on a FedEx truck that's 140 degrees. And when it's delivered, you get it, and even the ice is warm, right? Like, or the ice packets are warm. Do you have any suggestions on? I'm assuming that cheese is fine. It's maybe promoting its own, ripeness by being heated that way, or are there ways that the Cheese Grotto's changing their delivery, certainly during the summer months on some of these things?
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, the main challenge is like it keeps like the weather, the season of warmer weather, it's like it does keep getting a little
Yeah,
bit longer too. But
yeah.
this year we decided we're doing our shipment is going to be in early June. Because it's just too like when we shipped that one, it was like too peak summer. And because like the main challenge is that sometimes like as you're saying, like depending upon like
Delivery
the delivery,
person.
like how they're
Yeah.
handling it, sometimes like they'll literally like
Sit on
sit
a
in
front
like a
porch.
metal thing overnight, you know, like
Yeah.
they don't depending on where it is. And it's like it's hard to always predict. The rest of the year, we just don't really have problems because like the weather's cooler and the insulation and the ice packs like work great. And we found we didn't have any problems like until late June into like yeah, like the end of August. And you know, we do like ship try to do overnight, but again, sometimes that gets a little bit messed up too. So like yeah, so that was our main like the main thing that we have adjusted is going to early June for that
That's
shipment.
great. That's
Um
great. Thank you.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I hate when things like that happen where it's like, I mean, you know, clearly obsessed with the care of cheese. So when something gets delivered, oh, and the dog, yes.
Oh, yes.
When something gets delivered and it's not an ideal circumstance, it's very yeah, frustrating for sure. So, yeah. Um Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, so yeah, so this was oh yeah, so this is kind of like the different categories. Just kind of maybe as like the final, you know, little wrap up of, you know, I know we're past the hour right now, but I find this like is a kind of a good overview. Maybe we could add one more thing to it, but the soft ripened cheeses, you know, they will get softer with age, as we were mentioning over time. So it's good to like, depending on how, if you buy a cheese and the batch is like closer to the kind of end of like the recommended enjoyment period. And you can tell that by even just like the texture, if it's like kind of falling,
Mhm.
like if it's falling out of your hand a little bit, it's like that's ripe. Like that is ready to go. So that would be something you might want to enjoy like within a day or two, versus something that's like a little bit more like young, right? Like a young wheel that you just purchased and maybe was just made and the rind developed. Then you would have some more time that you could have it aging in the grotto for. Um, you'll see with with Carrie's Petite Boo that she had the Halloween cheese, like it did over 3 days like continue to evolve and like break down in that texture. With natural rind cheeses, like this is a category that natural rind. So natural rinds is a huge category. Natural rind is brie, washed rinds, like the Willoughby that Annie has. Then there's Tomes, like anything that has like an Alpine style, anything that has like a natural, like something edible, but it's like a rind that develops in the cave. Stilton has a rind on it, like the OG Stiltons, like they have rinds. So some blues have rinds on them. And occasionally, like in a higher humidity environment, like you'll see that the rind will sometimes, like as Carrie was mentioning, bloom a little bit more. You might see a little bit more evolution, like on the rind itself. And sometimes that can then travel a little bit onto the paste of the cheese, which is what also happens in a cheese shop in refrigeration. It's just that it can happen like in environments. So sometimes what we'll recommend is like to just, pat down the rind if you see a little bit more activity on it, just so that you don't get like a lot more, like you kind of can naturally control like the evolution of the cheese in that way. And so that's recommended within like the 5 to 7 days, like those kind of natural rind styles, whatever you have stored on the counter. Um, the sheep milk cheeses, as we see, like a lot of so sheep milk is super high butterfat content. It's just like amazing for cheese making. It's like not very much milk, so we don't really see people selling sheep milk. Like they don't yield that much, but what they do yield is incredible for cheese making because it's super protein and butterfat rich. So you get a lot of curd yield for like a small amount of milk. But what you'll find is with like some of these like pecorinos and manchego, maybe like asawi rati, like they do sometimes weep some butter fat because they are so rich. So when they're left out, you might get a little bit of that like on your shelf. So usually because they're a little bit higher in butter fat, I will recommend like a little bit of a shorter window for peak enjoyment on the counter because they weep a little bit, and so you might want to enjoy them more quickly than like a dense crystalline cheese, for example, like a Parmigiano Reggiano, or a cheese with a like really dense wax rind on it, like a super aged Gouda. These cheeses are not going to have the same level of like microbial activity, just from their because they've been aged for so long. They don't have the natural rind on the exterior, which creates a more active microbes like on the rind itself. So those ones I usually say like will last the longest. And like yeah, we say up within the week, just as like a rule of thumb. Like Carrie and I are guilty of definitely going longer than that. But like, this is what I would say, is like a good rule of thumb in general. And like, if you go a little bit longer, it's fine. But like mostly, like this is our kind of general like recommendation for everybody getting into doing this. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's really it. I mean, mostly, I know that we talked a little bit about the flavored cheeses, the truffle maybe being like, yeah, not the best fit for like when you're storing a bunch of different cheeses on the counter just for the aroma element of that. But and potentially tenting your blues if you want to keep a little bit more space or your more funky cheeses, having them on a separate shelf if you have a two-shelf version, um, or be like Mary and have two grottos. So those are really, the main things. And, everything, all these cheeses, because they're naturally made, like artisan made, like sometimes they just, they require a little bit more care or thoughtfulness, than just like a vacuum sealed block of cheddar that you have, like in your fridge. And that's really just kind of, we're just trying to help people understand that it's like the beauty of all the variety of cheeses. It's an ode to their complexity. There's so much there's just yeah, so it's like it's really just like getting to a point where you're enjoying that process, and participating in it. So, oh yes, Mary.
Yeah, well, as we're all hanging out, tomorrow is very exciting for me and a friend because Market Hall in Oakland, California is getting one of the two 400-pound Crucolo cheeses from, I think, the Alto Adige. One goes to a store on the East Coast, and one comes out to us in California. And we have a whole procession. They get some monks from a local monkery, and they walk around the block, and then they cut it and sell it. And it's such fun. And not my favorite cheese in all the world, but it's like this once a year. Oh, yeah, it's Cruccolo time. So that's going to be my Saturday morning tomorrow.
I love it. That's awesome. That is so great. I wish, yeah, I want to
Yeah,
come.
it's a fun thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for
Thank you.
joining
Thank you for
tonight.
joining. This is very
Yeah.
exciting.
I
This is
it's
great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see you all. Great to see the dog too.
It's always got to be involved.
But yeah, great to meet you, Mary. Hopefully we'll see
You
you
too, and Kerry.
again. Yeah.
Good to
Oh, to
meet
another
Kerry.
occasion. And my number two.
Yes, can't wait. Yeah, send a photo once you got it of them.
But I got it stacked.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Do this.